How far is too far? Sources tell CNN that Democrats are introducing a new war powers resolution to rein in President Trump's authority, arguing that Trump overstepped his power when he ordered the attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. Now, it all comes as top Democrats say the White House is intentionally keeping them in the dark.
I asked for a Gang of Eight briefing. It has yet to occur. And it's not clear to me what the administration is hiding from the Congress and from the American people.
And by the way, I mean, let's not lose sight of the fact that that an offensive attack against a foreign nation is something that the Constitution reserves to the Congress of the United States.
You know, we had Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, a Republican, here last week, and she was saying they're not going to brief us until after this thing is all said and done. And there is something about that, Scott, that, you know, maybe you don't go to a full vote in the Congress, but to wait until you've already taken the action to brief even the Gang of Eight, this is a smaller group of senior leadership in the Congress, about what the intelligence says, I think is pretty extraordinary.
Well, they did call Schumer, and I know they talked to him, and they tried to call Jeffries, who apparently didn't pick up the phone. So I know some calls were made. Look, one of the ways to keep things from leaking is to not tell a bunch of people who leak. And so, you know, I'm sensitive to this.
The Gang of Eight,
this is a pretty sensitive operation. There was a lot of misdirection. There was a lot of stuff going on here.
Is a close hold.
I know, and they called Schumer, and they tried to call Jeffries, and they told the Republicans. And look, we're not going to debate this in an open committee hearing when we're, you know, on a tight time window. You got bombers going one way, bombers going another way. I mean, this thing had to be held airtight, and that's what they did, and it worked perfectly.
Except that Donald Trump tweeted his way or truthed his way through the whole thing. I mean, we do have to remember.
Are you arguing it wasn't a success?
I literally did not say that. I'm just saying President Trump spent a lot of time talking through this publicly on social media to the point where they had to have a contingency plan to have B-2s going in opposite directions, just in case they needed to sort of misdirect the Iranians.
But we don't know whether it was a success or not. But you don't make a major judgment like that based on a one-day span. He's come out and said, I have a covenant with the American people. I tell them the truth. What do I say? We have completely and totally obliterated. No, you haven't. That's a lie, Brother Trump. Get off the crack pipe. You destroyed. You had severe damage. You didn't completely obliterate. Was there complete obliteration, you think?
Is there intelligence that you possess that says that?
Yes. You know why I know
it?
Because if, in fact, there was evidence for it, they would make it available, my brother. The fact that they're not making it available means there's a good chance that they don't.
The war power resolution, though, I would say, like, there is a reason for Congress to exist. Right now, our Congress has a bunch of peacocks who like to appear on television and not do their job, which is frustrating because then when you are trying to brief people and have serious conversations, they're trying to score a political point, and that sucks. It sucks for Democrats and for Republicans. If that changed, then 100% I think Congress should, because they will deal with the financial repercussions of Trump's decision with their budget. We all have to figure out what we want to pay for, and if we're going to authorize just strikes all the time. It is a real question because this does cut our budget.
Yeah, but look, the reality is the war powers resolution is a hotly debated question, right? Congress has the power to declare war. The president's commander-in-chief. The Constitution has tension in it about who's authorized to do what when. So Congress has tried to resolve it by saying the president can deploy forces overseas into hostilities for up to 60 days simply by notifying Congress. He doesn't have to get their approval at all to do it. That's the war powers resolution. People always get confused and say, no, it requires the president to get congressional approval. That is not true. For up to 60 days, the president can go forward. And in fact, the Obama administration attacked Libya and said we can go past 60 days because it's not hostilities, because they're not firing back.
It's funny you should mention that. Here's what Republicans said about that very thing 14 years ago.
The Constitution is very clear. You don't go to war without a declaration.
This latest decision was taken without adequate consultation with Congress.
When you commit U.S. troops and resources to combat, you should consult with Congress.
Allowing this assertion to stand unchallenged would increase the risk that presidents will conduct similar military interventions in the future without seeking or receiving congressional authorization.
They've never gone to the Congress for any authorization, and that has led to some pretty inflamed or, shall I say, bruised egos around here, and understandably, because the president should consult with Congress.
So let's be honest. I mean, whenever it's like with a lot of things in Washington, when it's your team doing it, you're fine with it. When it's the other team doing it, you're not. And I think this is one of those cases as well.
I love that you showed John McCain there at the end, because he famously would say every senator looks in the mirror and sees a future president of the United States. I think he was wrong. I think every senator sees the current president of the United States. They believe they are commander-in-chief. And Lindsey Graham said it, I think, yesterday. There cannot be 535 commanders-in-chief. There is one. And when it comes to making decisions that are related to national security and protecting the interests of America, we can't wait for Congress to get their pesky hands in it and delay and delay and delay and delay. And then the window of opportunity would be completely gone. But I do want to say,
I think you're right. I just have to say that the thing about it, though, is that it's always fine to start something.
Yes.
But when it comes time to finish it, then you have to go to Congress, and Congress has no choice.
What would happen if Iranians deployed a nuclear weapon and then they looked at the government and said, why didn't you do something about this?
I'm not advocating one way or another about this. I'm just saying that it's always easiest to say, oh, Mr. President, go do whatever you want to start this thing. But when Congress comes into play is usually when it comes time to finish it.
No,
and that's when things get really tricky. And that's when the American people starts to push back on these conflicts.
But here's the thing, Abby. The U.S. has been in conflict overseas and deployed troops into combat, into hostilities over 300 times since 1982. Congress has authorized use of military force 3 times.
I think that is exactly
that's the problem.
But
a lot of Americans
Abby's
don't
powerful point
right?
is,
Yes.
it's hypocrisy on
It's
steroids
hypocrisy.
when the Republicans do it and you get to rationalize it. So the Democrats do it, rationalizing other Democrats. Who's going to speak the truth?
Well, and what do we get out of these conflicts?
gonna
I mean,
speak the
that's the
truth?
bigger question is like,
One
what's
thing
the
is that
end
Iran
result?
doesn't have a nuclear weapon. That's the one thing we got today.
Do we know that? That's the big question
looks
tonight.
pretty good to me.
Well, I'm
They
glad
probably
you're
never
the
had
one
one.
with the
They probably
champagne.
never had one.
At a minimum,
I'm not so sure.
At a minimum,
never had
they're a
one.
lot further back today.
That's true.
Than they were a week ago, than they were a year
Sure.
ago.
But they never had
and we have
one.
to rely on some JCPOA agreement where we're going to bet
And
that Iran might do the right thing.
I was a Jayhawk at the University of Kansas when they were playing bombs over Baghdad and celebrating that we were going to war with Iraq. What did we get for that? That's why you have people who were former service members in these wars saying,
Jamil,
we want to say.
Real quick, I mean, if every time Iran, because they're going to get close again.
Yeah.
Are we just going to have to bomb them every time?
You know, that's a really interesting question. I think that what you might see, if they continue to try and enrich domestically, you may very well see Israel go after those targets. You may very well see the U.S. have to step in. The reality is this is exactly why we have to make it clear to Iran, no domestic enrichment. You want a civilian nuclear program? You can get your uranium from elsewhere. No domestic enrichment. This is the original sin. JCPOA was the original sin by allowing Iran, a terrorist state, to have domestic enrichment capabilities. That was the mistake by the Obama administration. It was the right thing for President Trump to walk away from it.
It depends. This is the first time we've ever actually gone this far. In the past, I think they thought, well, you know, Americans aren't strong enough or bold enough to actually come in here and do something about it. We'll talk. They'll send us pallets of cash, whatever. In this case, we sent Operation Midnight Hammer. It's the first time we've gone that far, so maybe it will prove to be a deterrent for the future.
You can't bomb your way to peace, though. And peace is not.
Thank you very much. We do have to go, guys. Everyone, thank you very much. Much more in our breaking news ahead. Israel and Iran apparently have agreed to a ceasefire set to begin just moments from now, but sirens are already sounding in Israel. Stand by.